As for you bringing out Offset and Cardi, a stripper that used to get laughed at, that found a gimmick that got her rich, and she's supposed to be the speaking point, a gang member, because you can't call her Cardi, you got to call her Barty, right? Wear red and you're showing out your toxic relationship with your belly out, with all the wrong signals being pushed. It's agreed that that shouldn't be a representation of us. It's actually sad also to see Megan Thee Stallion shaking her booty up on public TV for the consumption while we're talking about something serious. As for who could be the next leader of the free world, it's disgusting. But there's always cause effect on both ends. My vitriol comes when it's slanted to one side and people speak passionately about one side rather than the next. And I challenge people not to throw rocks and hide their hands when it comes to something that affects us all up here. Things is going to change. Hopefully, as AP says, that she puts out a solid presentation of what she plans to do moving forward. I already have a bias and I'm not going to change it because I will never vote for a grapist, pardon me. I shouldn't be saying that. He settled with E. Jean Carroll. Let's not gloss over that. You gave her $5 million for touching her up and you got found guilty because back then you had friends in powerful places. You didn't go to jail. Let's talk about campaign funding that you slipped through your lawyer who snitched on you after he did his time. We gonna act like that didn't happen? Okay, let's look at policies. He's done a lot. I wouldn't say him. I would say the people behind him that actually didn't want him in office. I could look at Biden, 94 crime bill, how you talked about people of my melanin. I have no love for you. I didn't go to your church to see you. I came for the message. I think that these discussions are necessary. Everybody has very powerful points to make. And as AP says, take your pen out, jot stuff down, be informed. You know, it's crazy that most people aren't like at least 4 levels up of the politicians that service them within their state. They couldn't name at least 3 of them. And that's disgusting. And then the same black people that be in the barbershops crying, oh, this, that, and the third. When's the last time you grouped up and then went to your public office, your borough president, because I live in Brooklyn, and say, this is what my neighborhood wants. This is my petition sheet. If you don't get this done, you up out of here. Start grassroots from that level and work your way up. And when AP and others come in, they say what they say, they have a right to say it. Because just like Mistaken said, you're looking for a handout, but what's the work? When did you roll up your sleeves and put the work in for what you wanted for the generations to come? I ain't sparing the ride with them either. Because I know I put boots on the ground because we have King Talk on the other side. I know I'm one man. I can only do so much, but I'm moving progressively forward. And the sisters as well, because you're teachers. Overworked, underpaid. One of the most priceless professions that you have in this country. You play
That's
a
a
part of
fact,
it too.
brother. Go ahead, keep going.
Yes.
I was just saying that's a fact. There's not much you said that I disagree with. We will likely never really ever see eye to eye politically, but every point that you just made, spot on, bro. Spot on. Man, keep cooking it up.
I think that we need more of these discussions, but we need to be able to be approached, able to walk things back that we are incorrect on, because there's a couple of times you made me concede. I went back, checked it. I was like, yeah, you're right, AP. I glossed over that. I didn't catch that one, but the conversation still needs to move forward because these
Man, he
voices are
not just real quick off topic. He not made me eat my words several times, and I had to own that shit, bro. Marcus has done it to me. HD has done it to me, and that's the thing I think about. Uh, um, when I think about our community, it's about being accountable and saying, you know what? I had to reevaluate, and I was wrong. We, for whatever reason, we have a hard time with saying that, with actually looking at ourselves and saying, "Shit, maybe the way I looked at that wasn't the right way to look at that." Miss Taken's got my ass a couple times too. Shan will never beat me. I ain't worried about Shan. But you know I love you, Shan.
I ain't trying. It ain't no competition. I ain't trying. I didn't know I was in the competition.
But staying on the topic, I don't want anything near Cardi B talking about politics or moving anything forward. Her and her ex-husband or whoever she wishes to keep need therapy before you come on the stage. I don't want to see a Amber Rose up there talking about I spoke to my daddy and placating and sipping a placebo up there so people could look at your big booty and they're not listening to your words. They're just looking at your body. Get up out of there. We can just refer a couple months ago when you're fighting with Jocelyn Hernandez. Now you're up on a podium. Go sit down. You're not a
Thank you
representation.
for thank you for calling it out. It's funny. I was actually on X and went back and forth with these. I think there's a very distinct difference between a conservative, Republican, and a diehard Trump person. What I'm going to say is I went back and forth with this Trump person regarding Amber Rose because apparently, and they didn't know who she was, and they were talking about how classy of a woman she was and how classy of a speech that was. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah. Anyway, that person blocked me. They don't like information.
What I find has happened is we went from only being good as entertainers, right? Entertaining, the others, right? To now being the entertainers ourselves, right? So a lot of times what I see is that we buy into the buffoonery. We like the pomp and circumstance. We're looking for all of that when a point needs to be made, like using celebrities to talk about social and political issues isn't new, right? The difference though is when I look back at the celebrity, like you had like Muhammad Ali, you know what I'm saying, who was an athlete. You had various people who understood, like they studied to show themselves approved. So when they were able to speak on issues regarding politics or social issues, they were well informed. The difference now that I see is that we're using celebrities um, to speak for us or represent us, and they don't. And then they also, on top of that, don't know what's going on either. And all we see is the dancing, the gyro, like, oh, but nobody has said a damn thing. And I think that's the part. Actually, my husband and I were just talking about that, about how, as you know, Black people, we continue to want to be entertained so we don't have to really do the work to figure out what's going on. We want to be in a happy state because so much of our life is struggle, for a lot of, so we looking for things to escape, right? But the lack of knowledge is what's hurting us even more, right? So it bothers me. Like I'm not gonna lie, like Meg the Stallion, like I am not one to really listen to her music. I'm not really one to listen to Cardi. To be honest, hip hop has changed so much for me that I'm not really into hip hop like that. Like I could, how you were talking about naming artists, I couldn't name any new artists that I'm like, oh, I'm really feeling. I just kind of backed my way out of it once the mumbo jumbo stuff started coming out. I just didn't even understand what anybody was saying. So at that point, I was done. But what bothers me is that the money has become so important over the message that, like, when I look back at previous generations, like I was saying, like with Muhammad Ali, he stood on principle. So even if his money was at risk, so be it. My principles are worth more. Whereas now you won't see celebrities do that at all.
No, it goes under the radar. LeBron James has done quite a few things for the community. Regardless of what you think of him, he's done quite a bit.